Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to another episode of Lounge with Carlos, the place where we discuss health and social care issues that affect us every day of our lives. The things that mean a lot to us, but we always hesitate to talk about them. Full of stigma, full of fear of being judged. But today we are talking about issues that matter a lot, especially along the lines of social integration, acceptance, and trying to destigmatize some of these things. Today, I'm joined by a guest who transitioned from being a child herself to being a mother while still a child and battling through those storms of life from a young age. Chiedza Chuonzoro. Chiedza, thank you very much for joining us. I am very excited that you opted to share your story on my platform to raise awareness. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, Carlos. I am equally humbled and I do appreciate the invite onto your platform, which I am finding very exciting because all the while it is only women who are running around sharing platforms and events that have to do with our social being and everything else. So, honestly, I am really excited to know that there is one in a million men who has decided to come along and join forces with women, and I am hoping more men will come on board.
Thank you very much for that, Chiedza. I hope not many men come on board. I don't want my limelight to be stolen. So I'd rather remain the one and only guy who's running this program. Without wasting time, Chiedza, can you tell us a little bit, in summary, who Chiedza is and take us back to that experience that changed your life?
Chiesa is now a grown up woman who was once a teen mom, 1985, when I fell pregnant. When I was still in my primary school, I did walk the journey of being a teen girl who has fallen pregnant, having to go back to school, which was an opportunity. But was it easy for me? I wouldn't say yes, because I was a child carrying a child. I look back and see children of my age at that time. It is worrying, it is scary, it is very uncomfortable. So now, as an adult, now as a grown up woman, I have found that I have work to do. I have to come along and bring as much awareness as can be, not mostly to the children. It needs to start with the parents because over the years, we never have the opportunity, or over decades, we never had the opportunity to speak openly about these things.
Mm.
There are things that are hidden, that cannot be talked about. There are things that are very sacred, you can't talk about. But how sacred can they be when I'm already pregnant? I think we need to start with parents because they are going to be the leading roles to the children. Then we need to speak to the children to make them aware what they are getting themselves into once they become sexually active. So it is my plight, it is my aim, it is my hope that we can bring change along the way because I had a journey that I'm not proud of. Of course, I have sailed through, not that I'm clever, but I have been fortunate enough to be given the opportunity and the resources to make me, to bring me where I am today.
That's a very powerful reflection to have. And I always believe that, for somebody to have that kind of reflection, it shows or indicates level of you have come over it, you've gone through it, it's definitely behind you now. It's something that does not affect you anymore. Is that correct to assume that of me?
I would say it doesn't affect me anymore. My personal experience doesn't affect me. When it comes to affect me, it's when I see young girls pregnant, young girls holding their babies. That really affects me. It takes me back to where I was. And because some of these girls, they don't have anywhere to fall back to, and that is the end of their childhood, that is the end of their education, that is the end of their physical and mentally growing. It stops to an extent until maybe when they find an avenue. Are they going to find an avenue? That's the question.
That's very true. That is a challenge I'm sure that most people are facing at the moment. But before we continue deeper into the conversation, I just want to ask about, get trying to bring you back to that time when, this event happened, when you fell pregnant at that time. Now, I'm asking this as somebody who is a parent. I'm trying to put myself in that parenting role and, asking you, what was your relationship like with your parents at the time prior to you falling pregnant, and what did that pregnancy do to the relationship that you had at the time?
My relationship with my parents prior to getting pregnant was fine. I was just a child being a child. And I believe my parents never expected that I was sleeping with a boy. They probably never pictured it. If they did, it's a word of a parent that,
Mm,
oh my God, I hope my child won't. But it was not so obvious that they had that concern about me.
mm,
That's how I look at it. But obviously, when I fell pregnant, things did change. My parents were very angry, very upset, very disappointed that at that age, honestly, I had become pregnant. What was gonna become of me?
mm.
So it was a big worry, it was a big concern. And also, the community does not help, unfortunately. The
Yes.
community is part of our lives, what we do, where we are. They see, they hear, they have their own judgments, they have their own thoughts, their own assumptions. You can't stop them. That's being a human being.
Mm,
So because I was in grade 7 in Zimbabwe at the time, and I was this young grade 7 girl who has fallen pregnant, I have other kids of my age around me. I also begin to think, how did I make the other parents feel or think? They had all sorts. And unfortunately, unfortunately, I did stay, I ended up being sent to the parents of the boy. My father was a teacher, and he was a teacher at the same school with the father of the boy. So can you imagine the hoo-ha? Can you imagine the shame? And these are teachers who are teaching all the other children to behave and looking forward to see children being
mm.
children. But we were naive. I was naive. I never thought any of it until I fell pregnant, which I didn't even know that I was pregnant. The only person who noticed that I was pregnant was my father. How? I don't know. But it was my father. He's the one who blew the whistle.
I think fathers know their daughters very well, I want to believe. Being a father of girls myself.
I think so. I believe so too. I guess I was putting on weight. My body shape probably changed. I don't know what my father saw, but obviously he saw something that had changed in me and about me, and he had his suspicions.
God, I can only imagine what that experience was like. But Chedza, tell me, did you comprehend at the time what you had done to your parents? In reflection, maybe now than before, do you see differently the impact your actions had for them? So I'm looking at back when that happened. Like, did you comprehend what the extent of what had happened and what you had done to your parents?
To be honest, I don't think I really had the full picture and understanding of what I had done. What I really knew was I had done something wrong that I shouldn't have done. To what an extent, I had no idea until I started walking the journey. Looking back, I can actually see how it made my mother feel, how much it affected my mother, and also, in our culture, when a child does wrong things, it's everything to do with mother, unfortunately.
Mm,
Unfortunately, I can talk about it now, which is not the case. My mom had no idea what I had done and why I was in this mess, just like my dad didn't know either. But I think it hit so hard on my mom because she had to carry the burden of the child who had messed up. So
mm.
in that case, I saw it. I saw it in my mom, and almost every time I talk about it, I want to cry, unfortunately, because
It's only human.
of course I get emotional. I'm human. I do get emotional about it because I know the effects that this has on any other child
Mm,
or any other parent. It is the issue about how to handle it. It's not easy because it's thrown at you and you
mm,
have to deal with it. How do you deal with it? How do you compose yourself? How do you remain focused to say, okay, this child has made a mess, but how do I help this child?
mm,
Which is a
mm.
core issue for me because I could have been sent to this family and that could have been the end of me.
I don't want to take you too deep into that emotional situation that you went through. I totally understand, how difficult it is to relive that memory, and I'm really sorry for touching that little bit of sensitive issue. I must admit, one of the reasons why I asked that particular question or those couple of rounds of questions is to get people to understand. And when I talk about people, I'm looking at the teenagers, the young ladies, the young men who are out there who are starting to have relationships and experimenting. I'm trying to reach to them to give them that other side of the coin that is away from the excitement, the real lived
That's right.
challenges that come after that excitement that you have to face up to, that you have to deal with. So,
That's right.
I must be honest, I am really sorry that I took you back into that phase, but that's the purpose of the program, to reach people, to help people understand that when mom and dad, uncle or aunt say don't do these things or talk about these things, it's trying to avoid that catalog of
Situations like
events
this.
that then come after, if you get where I'm coming from.
Yes.
Mm.
Yes,
So
I do.
moving on.
Adding to that, Carlos,
Yes.
I will just say, please do not apologize. And I think whenever I am going to be interviewed on this issue,
Mm,
I can't stop the emotions, but at the same time, I don't want to hold back the feeling
mm.
that I have. I can't hold. I don't. Sometimes I don't even think. I didn't think I was going to be that emotional, but I think it's a natural thing that takes place when I talk about it.
Yes.
Not that it's affecting me now, but I'm looking back and I actually visualize young girls who are carrying themselves now. I actually visualize young girls who are holding their babies. So I think that really brings again my situation into our discussion. And I want you to live without feeling that you have offended me, you have touched a sensitive part of the questions, but this is what we need. That's the whole idea.
That's very true. Thank you very much for highlighting that, Chieza. I really appreciate. Moving a little bit away from that, that emotional touch. I want to come back to touch on health. Did you have any health challenges as a result of the pregnancies at that age yourself? Did you have any long lasting changes as a result?
I want to say I was one of the blessed young babies to have a baby. I had a normal delivery. I didn't have any difficulties in terms of a health challenge myself. I did not. In terms of my internal being and gynae being, I have never had any problem at all. So it doesn't mean these problems don't come. We are all different.
Mm.
And young girls will face difficulties. And unfortunately, this can lead to death.
Yes, that's very true. And Chiedza, I understand you and I have a commonality between us, being nurses, both of us. In your experience, maybe professionally, or in your experience as a lived experience, have you come across any cases of complications that have happened as a result of, pregnancy at a very early age?
Young pregnancy.
Yes.
Over the years, I've known young girls who have died while giving birth. I've known of young girls who have bled, though they were saved. They bled almost to death. I have come across situations whereby the child dies or the child is, I know even in full term, I know even in adults, you can give birth to a premature child, but premature babies in young girls rate is higher. It's an area that needs to be addressed in terms of the education. We are talking about the awareness that we are trying to give out there. The mortality rate is very high. So these are the things that we need to nail. And some children are born with disabilities because of that. Some young girls, they end up with issues like depression, mental health issues. And mind you, we don't talk about mental health issues a lot, especially in Zimbabwe, in Africa, maybe of late. But mental health issues, they are a global issue that needs to be addressed from very young age, because children are being affected to that extent, but we don't realize, and we think maybe mental health issues are for a certain age group or for adults. But these young girls who fall pregnant at a young age, the things that they go through, the experience that they go through within the family, within, if they are sent away to the other family of the boy, the experience that they are going to go through there while they are there, the community itself, it does not make it any better for this child. Remember, it's a child. This is not a woman. It's a child. They don't even know themselves. They don't even understand themselves. Maybe they even have questions. How did I come to this? But they don't have the answers because they are in the wrong. Unfortunately, nobody listens to them. They're not given the opportunity to relieve themselves of exactly what they are going through. Because sometimes it's not necessarily that there's going to be medication as such. We need to rehabilitate the mind. We need to rehabilitate the body itself. We need to rehabilitate the soul and the spirit of this child in order for them that they actually move from this place where they are, an unfortunate place. But if we provide the resources, if we provide warmth, if we acknowledge and accept their wrongdoing, but help them, because they will never know how wrong they are if we keep on hammering of the wrong but not taking action to take them out of it. Otherwise, they will repeat and we are not going anywhere.
That's very true. And, with them being, children themselves, like you rightfully indicate, there is still a degree of growing up that is still to be done regardless
Exactly.
of having a child.
Exactly.
And that
Exactly.
growing up needs support in your journey in life. And I'm sure with many people you've come across with similar stories you have had. Where do you think needs addressing for the child? I'm going to start with the child. The child, I'm not
Okay.
necessarily looking at the girl who is pregnant. But when I'm saying the child, I
Exactly.
am involving the boy as well because it's an act
Okay.
between two people. So the
That's right.
rehabilitation or the address ideally is for both. It's not for one. Where do
That's
you
right.
think needs addressing for the child?
Thank you for that question, Carlos. The address needs to start in the homes. Our parents would not sit down and talk to us about sexual activities. They would talk about it sparingly. They would not go into detail. But I think the time has come that we create those relationships with our children. I always say this, it's not easy, but we have to do it. Because if we continue to do what we are doing and we cry foul of teen pregnancies, then we have a major problem coming, because we need to break the cycle somewhere. We might not necessarily end teen pregnancy, but we might reduce the numbers and the complications that comes up with it. So when we have these conversations in the home with our boys, with our girls, we are actually doing ourselves a favor as parents, and we are doing a favor for these young children, because once they go out there, no matter what they do, they have a full picture. When I was growing up, it was like, you can't sleep with men, you can't sleep with boys. But there was no deeper word into it. That's why I said it was sparingly said, like just a scrap on the top. So it left us young children with this inquisitive. So we need to kill that inquisitive in children. Let's be open about it. So when the children, before they even start having, uh, before they even become pregnant, let's not talk to the girl child only. Let's talk to the boys, because the tendency is when the girl child becomes pregnant, parents only focus on the girl. They don't focus on the boy. But the boy, like you said earlier, is equally involved. These are two young people who have come together to do this. So we need to teach our children, regardless of whether it's a boy or a girl, we need to teach them the same way the responsibilities. I think the reason why girls are it's more hammered to girls is because they're the ones who are going to be carrying the 9 months. But they need to understand that the boy is involved, and the involvement of the boy, it doesn't stop because you have become pregnant and he doesn't want to know. And in most cases, when it's young people, it's not necessarily that the boy does not accept or acknowledge. It is the parents of the boy who puts a barrier, or it's even your own parents who don't want to know about this boy because he has messed our child. But if you give these children a chance to sit together, and you as parents, you sit together, you discuss these issues, it will make a much better place to be. We also need not to address only in our homes. We need to hold education seminars which are lively for these kids to express themselves. When we grew up, we couldn't express ourselves in terms of being sexually active, or talking about sleeping with a boy. But when we are not going to give them on the plate. But the idea is to educate them, start them before they become pregnant, start them before they sleep with a girl and impregnate them. So it's in this case we have prevented many other problems that come with this issue of teen pregnancies because they won't be there.
It's very interesting what you're saying, Chiedza, because
Right.
purpose of this program
Hmm.
is to introduce managing mindset, the mindset to manage the
That's right.
problem. And when I'm talking about
Hmm.
managing the problem, my approach is managing in the sense of reducing the occurrences of this happening. And reducing
Yes.
the occurrences is with
Yes.
things that you're suggesting, that you're advising children out there, that you're advising parents out there to talk about these things, to start addressing them before they happen. But also, the
Right.
problem has already happened. What do we do going forward, Chiedza? The child is already pregnant and there's a baby on the way, and the mother is still a child themselves. What do we do going forward? From your experience, from your lived experience, looking at what happened to you from a reflective perspective, what do you think
Okay.
could have been done better to help you cope with that situation? And this is trying to help that parent out there who suddenly has a son who's made a girl pregnant, or a girl who is pregnant. What's your advice?
From my experience, I will speak on behalf of my parents to start with. I say thank you to my parents because they didn't throw me away. Initially, they had to do the normal, the culture, the traditional thing of sending me away. But they realized that they had to bring me back home to prepare me to go back into school, which they did. But I will talk to those parents who get angry and stop the progression or the development of their child because she has become pregnant, because now she's got a baby. If you are able to throw away your child, do you think there's anyone out there who will embrace your child? People will embrace your child, but they'll give them a big, big, difficult time where they will wish they were at their mother's house. Because having difficulties in any environment is not good. But I think I could stomach anything within my own environment, which is my parents' home, than somewhere else. So parents need to be mindful. We are upset, and it's upsetting. It's a shame as well. I put shame on my parents. So it is the shame. And parents, if they can stop listening to the next door, the community tends to fuel with negativity that overwhelms and overcomes the thinking of you as a parent. But you were not made parents by a neighbor. You were made parents by nature and by God, that you will have to be responsible and take responsibility of your child. We have to love our children, give them tough love, even when we are going to be supporting them. Emotional support is so important because if a child is crushed emotionally, can you imagine what goes on in their minds and they have nowhere to run to? Having fallen pregnant or have impregnated somebody, it doesn't mean they are grown up. It doesn't mean they have straight thinking and they can think like you and me. Even as adults, sometimes we fail to think. So if we put our ourselves into the children's shoes, we might change the mindset. Just imagine if it was you. Fair enough, if you were not in my situation, thank God for that. But if you were in my situation, put yourself in those children's shoes and see how they feel, particularly the girl child, because the girl child is going to carry the 9 months. Having said that, don't tell your son to run away because you went out and he did it. Whether they agreed, whether they were not in agreement, but the end result is here. We need to deal with it. So parents really need to think, why am I sending my child away? What are they going to become? What's going to happen to my grandchild? What's the future of my daughter and that child? Where do I see my daughter be in the next 3, 5, 10 years, 20 years? Stop the negativity, because that's where all these other social problems come from. Parents, please don't cover up for your sons. Parents, please don't send away your daughters because they have fallen pregnant. The mindset, like Carlos said, needs to change.
Doing this program, and okay, specifically this particular interview with you is very thought provoking, which is the thing I love about this program, because it's about thought provoking moments, thought provoking
Yeah,
discussions. And as much as I'm
that's it.
hosting this, I am also in a classroom because I am also learning. Because like I highlighted to you before, that I've got daughters as well. In my mind, that whole scenario is a cringe moment for me. And
Mm,
without it even
I can
happening,
imagine.
I find myself testing myself in the back of my mind. How do I
Hmm.
manage? How do I go forward? And it's the things that you're talking about, that you're highlighting about. If you just throw your child out there because they've messed up, who do you think is going to care for your child? And to my daughters out there, I'll just say, this is not passport. This is just a discussion.
Exactly. Just
Who
to equip them.
Yes, yes, yes. Who's gonna look after the child? And like you indicated, it then comes full circle to things like depression, things like suicide, a lot of
Exactly.
negative things then arise
Yes.
from this whole scenario, where all that might have just been needed to manage the situation was just showing love to the child, showing love to the
Exactly.
girl child to support them, but also showing strong love to the boy child as a father or as a parent,
Yes.
to take
Yes.
responsibility for what they've done
Yes.
and not put the blame
Exactly.
on one person,
Which is the norm.
which
Which
is
is the
which is the
easier.
norm in the societies
Which
that
we
we
have
live
known
in,
for years. It's yeah.
which is the norms in the societies we live in, the society we've grown up in. The blame ends up in one direction, and a lot
It
happens
turns
that
out to
could
be a
have been
mess.
avoided if people had just shown
Exactly.
restraint and a supportive nature towards what has just happened. Now, just moving on, how is your relationship with your kids? Do you think your experiences in the past has had an impact in how you manage with your children, the relationship that you have? Can you just give me a picture of, the kind of relationship that you have with your children?
Relationship with my children. When I was a bit younger, I was a strict mother who doesn't tolerate this, that. But what I have learned from that, it's not about being strict, which makes a child a better child. It's not the leniency that also makes a child a better child. We need a balance. I know for sure I've been a strict mother because you have these fears of what you did, and you don't want your children to fall prey to the same situation. It's a worry, and you can't deny it. In most cases, I think you don't even think about it. You just react according to the momentum of the situation. But my children, they know mom doesn't want us to do what she did because I spell it out.
Appreciate you saying that because I asked that question to give people an idea of how some of our experiences shapes our approach to parenting, shapes our
Yeah,
expectations of our children. You
yes,
know, maybe in another conversation on another day, we will look at, parenting skills,
that's
and
right.
maybe involve people within, social care profession, and delve more into that
Yes,
particular discussion. But look, thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to live through your experience, allowing my
okay,
audience to live through your experience. It's not easy
okay,
to share personal experience. It's not easy. It
no,
takes courage. It takes great it takes great introspect to be able to do that.
that's right,
And I'm very
that's
grateful
right.
that you awarded me your trust and your time to do this with you. And do me a favor, share the platform with many people, put the platform out there. It's for everybody's benefit because the world is a better place when we share information. A problem
That's
shared is a
right.
problem solved. I hope this message or this program has touched a lot of people out there, made a difference in the decisions you make, made a difference in your approach with your children or yourselves as children finding yourself in a teenage pregnancy situation. I hope I have reached and convinced people that programs like this are beneficial for society, beneficial for our social circles, beneficial for our own health. Chiedza has written a book.
As Chiedza, who was once a teen mom, I have traveled the journey. I wrote a book which I call a naked book because it talks about my journey as a teen mom, the experiences that I've gone through, everything that has taken place. This book is found on Amazon, or you can go to the Lioness in Me page on Facebook. Your supporting in buying this book does help the organization that I am running, which is called Women with a Mission, that is helping teen mothers, young women, so that we can discuss and take action into these issues that are affecting us every day of our lives.
Thank you very much for watching. I look forward to the next episode. Share the platform, subscribe, put a like, and please comment. Your comments matter, they make a difference, they improve the program, they improve the reach. Thank you for watching. Lounge with Carlos.